Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shibb, or Shibb for short. I appreciate you being here today. Goal of this video is to dive into the Paladin or the Holy Knight. We're going to be talking about skills to use, how to use them, and how to be the most effective in PvP specifically. Let's dive right in. So as usual, I'm going to be leaving up the skills here on the screen for a short amount of time. Feel free to revisit this at any point in the video or just come back in the future as you make this build. Just so you guys know, the only skills that won't be maxed at level 10 will be Dagger Lunge and Foresight. That is essentially your standard dash that's going to give you a shield, and your run. So just know you're going to put 10 points in every other skill besides those two, and one of them will be 8 points, one of them will be 7. It's up to you to decide which one you want to add an extra point into. All right, everybody, so now that you've seen the skills on the Paladin, let's talk about how a Paladin should be played. As a Paladin, guys, you should theoretically not be doing the most insane damage. You have a fair amount of peel, a lot of damage mitigation, and a decent source of damage. You can get top damage, but your focus should mostly be on winning the game, and the Paladin has a lot of avenues to win the game. So speaking of damage, let's talk about the Paladin's damage sources. Their main source of damage is the Sword of Justice, which is a stab 4 that looks like this. If you connect with that sword, it'll then extend the sword and do a bunch of damage, looking something like this. Knocks him in the air and sends him flying. So how do I get that move to connect properly? It's kind of a tight window. It's hard to hit. Well, you have to do some setup. There's 3 major sources of setup, I'd say, on this class, and that would be your Dagger Lunge, which is your standard dagger. This thing's only level 7 or 8. It stuns them for a millisecond, so you can immediately follow up. Hold on, let me reset cooldowns. Yeah, I can immediately follow up the sword, do a fair amount of damage. Or I can use my Hand of Heaven. It'll knock him down, and I follow immediately up. Outside of that, there's one other way I'd say, and that is using your Foresight, your dash move. I say this is more prevalent when they've already used their dodge roll because they can kind of get out of it before you can really get that move off. But, you know, it's another way of setting up that ability. You know, you could use Sword of Justice at other times. You can even use it alone without any follow-up, as long as you're skilled enough or you see an opening or a window if someone's already stunned them. There's other means to get that ability off, but these are your main ways of setting up the ability and your main source of damage. Outside of that, you've got some other strong moves, including Wide Attack, which I like using Wide Attack when there's a group around me. It'll do a bunch of damage, and then it'll proceed to knock everyone up that's in that zone. So it's really good for area denial, damage, supporting. There's just a lot of avenues for sources of damage there. So that is your main way to do damage on the Paladin. So now let's get into where the Paladin shines. Their defensive abilities. They are literally insane and shows why this class can be so strong, especially in high tier PvP. This class can win games for their team just through damage mitigation, shielding, and just annoyance. Ready? So first thing I want to talk about here is Guardian Angel. Guardian Angel is an ability that looks like this. It'll then throw a little orb to all the allies around me, and it'll provide a bunch of buffs. First thing is it'll reduce damage taken for 8 seconds by 40%. Not only will it reduce damage taken by 40%, but it'll also do a fair amount of damage to the people around you, right? So it'll look like this. This will do damage to the people around you as well as damage mitigation to your team in the area. Very strong ability, especially when someone's getting hunted down. The next skill we want to talk about is Shield of Faith. Shield of Faith is exactly the way it sounds. It's this skill right here. You're going to press it, and it's going to provide a large shield on you and your allies for a short duration. This is super good when there's heavy damage dealing abilities coming in quick. You have cast reduction, so it gets out pretty fast as it goes, and it'll spread to everyone around you, all your teammates. Such a strong ability. And the other side of the things, which is pretty important to say, is at the end of this ability, it'll also heal the Paladin for 8% of his health, which is nice throughout the battle because there's really not much healing in this game. So having that 8% heal where you can use it multiple times per life if you're playing smart means you're essentially, if you're incredible with the Paladin, you can be unkillable. If you're very smart with your damage mitigation, when to use heal and when to use shield, this class is just insane. So alongside those 2 moves, there's even more. The final ability I want to show you guys is Ruffian's Word. This ability is potentially one of the strongest abilities the Paladin has, especially in high tier PvP. This ability allows him to hold a cast point, give himself a minor shield, but he also creates a zone of effect. This zone will hurt the enemy, but also provide damage mitigation to all your allies within it. So look at this right here. So first off, the way we built this is, like I said, it provides a 20% max health shield on the Paladin while he's using it, increases the duration, or like the size of the circle, sorry, but also it reduces the damage taken by your allies in that circle by 70%. I'm talking 70%. If you see somebody about to get slapped by a very strong ability or an ulti, and you're over there and you're able to put this on top of them while they're in that, and you don't see their health bar move at all, you realize how powerful the Paladin can be. The challenge and the skill with the Paladin comes with placement of yourself to where that can be effective. A lot of new Paladins will just throw that around. I mean, you can also place that around yourself and your allies in a circle, as long as you're not getting bopped around. But, you know, having positioning and trying to find a location where you're able to get that off without getting touched, and you can keep that shield up and that damage mitigation, all while ticking the enemy for damage at the same time, is so strong. Just keep that in mind. That is a very skillful, tough ability to use, but very, very, very powerful ability for the Paladin and potentially their bread and butter. All right, so now that we've talked about offensive and defensive abilities and kind of how to use them, let's talk about the innate skill or the inherent ability of the class. It's quote-unquote passive, right? You're going to look at the bottom here and you're going to have a bar. As you deal damage, this circle or this orb will fill up. Once it's at the top, you have two options. You can either go Warrior of Light or Blessed Aura, is what they're called in Russia. I typically call them blue or yellow, and it's very self-explanatory. If I choose to go blue, all my sword abilities will be buffed. If I choose to go yellow, all my casting or book abilities will be buffed. I typically go Warrior or blue because it allows you to just to do an insane amount of damage, and if your team starts stopping and you pull out blue and you just dominate people, it really shows, you know, the power of this class. It's really your main damage window to pop off on the class, and I personally love using blue. I think it's the way to go. For example, you can see all your skills become way easier to hit, way longer, way more effective. I love this part of the ability. Way, you know what I mean? It's way easier to hit. Look remember that's how small that circle was before. And when I do wide attack with Warrior of Light put on, it makes it so that AoE is massive, right? So, you know, the other thing I didn't mention is in terms of ultimate, you always want to use Looter and Court, in my opinion, unless you're doing 1v1s, and then you can use the other one. But Looter and Court is one of the strongest ultimate abilities in the entire game. So you pick your, you know, so you're going to cast your ability, you have a massive AoE like this, you're going to be able to click where you want to send it, your character will fly into the sky and then land at that location. He'll deal damage to everyone that's an enemy, and he will massively shield everyone that is an ally. It looks like this. You'll see in some of the live gameplay footage me utilizing this in a battle, and it can just change the tide of a big team fight, especially if everyone's grouped. All right, everybody, so that's going to do it for the skills and how to use them portion of the video. Before we get into the gameplay of me actually implementing everything we just talked about, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. If you like my stuff, please consider giving my socials a follow. Link will be in the description below, or throwing a sub here on YouTube. We're obviously trying to grow, and we just hit partners, so thank you so much for that. So with that being said, thank you so much, and I love you guys.